What's up, everyone? Welcome back. We're going to talk about some fuzzy dice and how to make your own and kind of my experiences with this style of bait. We'll talk about it right now. Thanks everyone for watching. This channel is dedicated to the latest and greatest in bass fishing. We talk a lot about tackle, and that's really what I'm all about. And one thing that keeps popping up is these fuzzy dice lures. Now, I know it's not brand new. You know, we saw that on the Elite Series with Fujita last year. We saw Taku fishing them this year. I did a video on this last December. You know, it's not like it's brand new, but these keep popping up in my sphere. You know, I write, so I cover tournaments, and I keep seeing these baits popping up. I just wrote an article with a couple pros that are fishing them, and it kind of inspired me to make my own, because these OSP dice, and I'll show you one up close, they're cool. But these are about $5 each, you know, $4 each. They come, you know, 4 or 5 in a pack, and they're about 20 bucks. So they're not cheap at all. And they're all handmade, and that's why. Because there's really no easy way to do it, you know, mass produce them. So they have to charge a lot. Also, they come from Japan. So, you know, when they bring it in, everybody has to make money along the way. So it costs a little bit more to get them. There's a lot of other ones out there. You know, the G-Crack, Emo Kamushi. There's a Slim Worm. They're kind of like Ned Rig bait. They have a stick bait that's kind of like a cover scat, and then they got the Q-Bomb, which is just basically a sphere and then has that crazy skirt material. There's a few other ones here and there, but there's really not a American company that makes them that are really that affordable, honestly. So I decided to make my own because these are really unique baits and they work. Now, in that article I was talking about, the pros kind of broke down the scenarios that these baits work, and I'll kind of share some of that, you know, just cliff notes of it. But really it's best for pressured fish, you know, fish that are really spooky, you know, cruising fish, if you're casting to fish that don't really react to a wacky rig or something like that. Or on a drop shot when they're used to seeing a million flatworms and a million roboworms, you know, something like this on a drop shot is just completely different. So it's a really unique looking bait. I don't really know what it imitates. Maybe it looks like a little crawfish or a little crab or something, but really, you know, bass are bass. They're gonna eat anything that looks different, that's intriguing, something that hasn't hooked them before. And I think that's really the biggest thing with these style of baits. So they do work. Like I said, I did a video on them in December, caught a bunch of bluegill on it, caught some bass on it. I really haven't fished it enough since then. I should have tried it a little bit more, you know, in place of wacky rigs or on my drop shot a little more just to see how it would work in different scenarios. But I can tell you they do catch fish, and these things keep popping up. You know, Michael Neal won the tournament on the St. Lawrence River, the Bass Pro Tour. He kind of made his own. That kind of got me interested in making my own. So I'll show you what I did to make a whole bunch of them in about 10-15 minutes, and a lot cheaper, and they're kind of custom too. So this is the dice rubber, the OSP dice rubber. You know, this is one that most people talk about, along with the G-Crack, but I just made this whole batch of them right here. So really simple to do. So what I did, first of all, I just grabbed some stick baits. You know, and these aren't perfectly square or anything, and I did a full YouTube short that's up right now that you can take a look at kind of step by step, but I'll kind of walk you through it. So I grabbed a big old Yum Dinger. This is a really big one, so it's really thick. I really never use these, so I just had them laying around, and I cut these into chunks. You know, there's one that I started cutting. I also grabbed a Z-Man Mag Fatties worm, so you get the more buoyant Elastec plastic. I also grabbed some knockoff Senkos and some regular Senkos, and I just cut up a bunch of cubes, basically. You know, that's all I was doing. They're not perfectly square, but they, you know, they're gonna work. I don't think it really makes a difference. Then the other thing you'll need is some skirt material. This is actually the skirt strands or the tabs. You could use any skirt you have. Just get an old jig, whatever you want. Pull them off one by one. You also need to get some needles. I went down to Dollar General, bought this. It was a big pack. It was like $4 or $5. Has all different sizes, and that's really key. You want the thick upholstery needles. Maybe you have them laying around, you know, but a regular sewing needle doesn't really work very well, or it's just really a pain to put the skirt through there. So I'll show you what I did. You know, made the skirt material, put in the needle, put it through one side, cut it off. Super, super simple. So you got this one is, you know, was part of a Senko. It's just kind of that center band from a Senko. You got one that's, you know, just a different piece of it. Really simple. I even made some like this that are the tip of a Senko. So this is actually more like a Ned Rig bait. That's another way that people are fishing this in place of a regular Ned Rig bait, or you can just drop shot that. You know, there's a piece from that Yum Dinger So it's a bigger one. I got put a little more skirt on there. It's really super, super simple to do. I mean, it's kind of a pain to get all the, the material, but the time is really easy. And you probably already have the skirt material. It's really just getting that needle. So yeah, you can see I made a whole bunch of them. And then this is the one with the Elastec. So this one's going to be a little bit more buoyant, or a lot more buoyant. So it's going to float up on your drop shot a lot better. It's going to be great for a wacky rig. It's going to fall incredibly slow. That's what I was doing when I was fishing it last year. I was just fishing it weightless, casting it around, and it was incredible. All the little pecks of fish that you had biting it, those bluegill, they just were totally interested in that. But again, going back to that article, some of the pros said it's really good around bluegill beds because all those bluegill rush over to it, and the bass see a bunch of bluegill going to something, and then they see this and eat it, or eat the bluegill. But it just adds a lot of activity because everything bites these things. So they are serious. I think there's going to be a lot more of these coming out. I think more people are going to be fishing them, but it's still early enough that most people don't think it's for real. They think it's a joke. These dice lures, these things are crazy looking. People are not really giving them a shot. Plus, they're hard to get. So the fish have not seen them a lot. It's still kind of the early stages of it. So if you could start fishing it, you're going to be a little bit ahead of the curve. Even though they've been out for a couple years, it still hasn't hit the mainstream, but it's getting close. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to fish these more, definitely in place of some wacky rig situations. This fall, especially when the fishing's tough, it'll give me something a little bit different to throw to the fish. So can't beat that. And I got a whole bunch of them. I got a whole arsenal, and I'm going to just keep making these things up. They're really easy to do. They do work. And again, they're a lot cheaper when you make your own. So I just wanted to share that with you. Let me know your thoughts on the dice lures. Have you fished any of them? You want me to stop talking about them? A lot of times I post videos and people say, oh man, he's giving away the secrets. But I'm just sharing what I'm learning, what I'm going through right now, what's relevant for me. So that's what I'm doing right now, is talking a lot about these dice lures. Even though it's been a couple years, they are still hot, and I think you're going to hear a lot more about them coming up.